Baik, ketegangan di Ukraine semakin menyerlahkan sisi hitam negara kuasa dunia. Dalam industri minyak mentah, percaturan kini adalah bukan soal sekatan lagi. Sebaliknya, perantaraan pembayaran yang akan menentukan siapa yang akan jadi juara. Rusia kini mengarahkan semua negara pengimport untuk bayar minyaknya menggunakan mata wang ruble dan juga dalam masa yang sama ini bermakna negara Eropah yang mengimport sebahagian besar tenaga Rusia perlu membuka akaun bank Rusia dan mendapatkan rubel. Langkah ini diambil bagi menyokong nilai mata wang itu yang jatuh teruk akibat sekatan barat dan juga selain itu beberapa negara dilihat terbuka untuk melakukan penyelesaian pembelian minyak tanpa dolar. China umpamanya terbuka untuk menggunakan yuan, India terbuka menggunakan rubel dan juga Arab Saudi juga terbuka menggunakan yuan. Dan juga bagi mengulas situasi ini kita bersama dengan Ketua Pakar Ekonomi JUI Shan Said. Good morning Shan. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Shan, if you look at big news in the oil market, Russian central bank announced on March 28 that ruble tied to gold and willing to accept oil payment. Do you think that de-dollarization has started and now and how it's going to impact the energy market?
Najib, it's quite premature to say that de-dollarization has started. But obviously, markets and investors and policymakers globally have started talking about that we need to have an alternative to US dollar. And people are talking about Chinese yuan, they are talking about ruble, they are talking about payment backed by gold. So I think there will be a time, I'm not talking about maybe after 3-4 years, where US dollar will have a market competitor and US dollar will be competing with Chinese yuan, with euro and ruble, especially in the oil payment. And as you rightly pointed out, Russian central bank is willing to take oil payment in ruble. But there are two questions to it. Number one, how many countries are willing to make their payment in ruble? Number one. Number two, what is the acceptability? Because right now, you have to be very pragmatic. 90% of the commodities are traded in US dollar. 80% of the oil payments are going in US dollar. So to say that de-dollarization has started, not so soon, but maybe in a 3-4 years time, dollar will have a serious competitor in the form of Chinese yuan, or I'm a big fan of gold. If the global economy needs stability, we need to go back to gold standards.
Shan, this is not the first time you talk about alternative to gold in your for the past 2 years. In fact, you've been talking about, a gold as the new alternative. But if you look at the Jim Rogers, just now talking about competing currencies with dollars, yuan and also euros. Do you think that the dollar dominance is some sort of over right now?
Not so soon. Dollar dominance is under threat. I mentioned that on 2nd January 2020 in Star newspaper that eventually US dollar, what Jim Rogers is now talking about, we will have competing currencies. So US dollar, Chinese yuan, euro, ruble, or maybe anything backed by gold. But right now the challenge is the global economy is going through fragilities. Outlook is uncertain. So how do you get stability in the system? The only way I think the global economy can get back into a stability mode where currency is backed by gold, and gold is real money, silver is real money. And I'm fortunate enough that two people I would like to mention over here, Tony Go from Smart Investor magazine, who published my interview in Smart Investor magazine in November 2014 about Petro Yuan, and Supriya from the Edge the Edge Journal in 2018, that Petro Yuan is coming to the market. And since 2018, Petro Yuan is in, and many countries are now talking about that we need to have Petro Yuan in the market. And last month, 15th March, Saudi Arabia is considering to take payment in yuan. And Saudi Arabia supplies 25% of her oil supplies to China. So if Saudi Arabia, China, and other countries, they make a move and they are ready to accept payment in yuan, I think that will be a huge dent to US dollar moving forward.
Shan, what if I give you a scenario 3 years down the road, we are sitting in 2025. Do you think that oil prices will be traded in yuan or ruble or dollar? And what the probability of that event happening in the financial markets, and also who will make the first move?
2025 petro yuan, it is very pragmatic, and market will accept that because China is one of the biggest importer of energy, and if Chinese make the move, Saudi Arabia, which is the biggest economy in GCC, if Saudi Arabia is willing to accept, all the GCC countries would go into yuan. So the scenario that you are presenting of 2025, it looks very pragmatic, and it can happen once the investors are ready to move forward.
Yeah. Shan, since we talk about ruble, let's switch focus a bit into Russia's sovereign bonds, which was paid using ruble instead of dollars, and the big rating agencies say that it will cause Russia to fall under technical default. However, some look at it as an artificial default. What's your take on this?
Yes, Russia is having issues, especially in their payment. But if you see central bank, they have lowered 300 basis point. And ruble, where many people were talking that ruble will take a major slide and will depreciate. When sanctions started, ruble was trading at 80 against US dollar. It slided to 151. It appreciated to 76 last week, and it is back to 80. So I think Russia will eventually recover. The markets are expecting that Russia will have a surplus of $300 billion, and Russia is already selling oil to a lot of countries. So Russia could be a technical default in the short run, but eventually the GDP will stay under pressure this year, maybe between 2 and 3%, but eventually Russia will recover maybe in the next 12 to 18 months.
Lastly, Shan, for the investors, given a choice right now with COVID ending and geopolitical uncertainty and fragilities in financial markets, do you think that investors are going to tangible assets again, like 1970s era stagflation?
Yes, absolutely, Najib. We are already in 1970 era, that is stagflation. History is repeating after 52 years. If you recall what happened in 1970s, most of those sophisticated and smart investors, they took position in tangible assets. And what is tangible assets? Real estate, gold, silver, farmland, agriculture, oil and gas, arts. And if you see history, in tough times, the only fixed asset that goes up is land. We have seen at IQI, the property prices globally are, all-time high, and people are buying land, people are buying property. Whether it's geopolitical risk, whether it's COVID, people are going into tangible assets. So I think what history has taught us that during a tumultuous time, investors, they get scared and they take position in hard assets. So I think that era is coming back. I see major upsurge in commodity prices. I see major upsurge in gold, silver, and of course, real estate is the new global currency.